posting from Gaza. She joins me now live. Dr. Rose, you said there at the end that you didn't know whether you're going to be let back in because of all the interviews that you have been doing. How did you, and why in that case did you decide to speak out in these interviews rather than being able to continue your work within Gaza?
Mainly because I think the situation is critical now, particularly where we were working at Nasser. The hospital has now gone into the red zone, and it will be days before it's completely dismantled. That's the last hospital in the south, which means that hundreds of patients are likely to die because the surrounding field hospitals, which are actually tent hospitals, don't have the capability to take the ITU patients that are there. And there's 2 adult ITUs, an overflow ITU, and 2 pediatric ITUs. So those patients will all die. And there is nobody that has the bed capacity. Even the field hospital combined don't have 30% of the bed capacity that Nasser has. So a huge number of patients are in a very critical condition. And I felt that the footage is out there. I know the Western media is not allowed in, but the local media, the local cameramen and the local journalists are sending the footage out. And it's the same footage that I've been taking and sending out, but for some reason it's disputed and it's not believed. And I felt a huge responsibility to say what I've seen. And I'm telling you now that the images you're seeing are going on, and this is happening, and we need to stop it.
And just before I ask you about a bit more about what you've seen, could you just explain, when you say that Nasser Hospital is in the red zone and it's going to close, why is that?
Because it's in an active fighting zone, so the IDF are completely surrounding it. They didn't evacuate it, which is something that they've done in the past. But what that means is nobody can get into it without a deconfliction order. So on the Wednesday when we came home, the convoy from Deir el-Bella, which brings all of the local Palestinians working with the NGOs and the UN into the hospital by bus, had to wait outside the red zone for a deconfliction order that they didn't get. So none of the staff got into the hospital. And so over the next 5 days, the hospital is gradually going to be strangled because nobody will be able to get in and work there. And then because of where it is, it's likely that the generators will be hit. Then normally the water supply is hit and then the sanitation goes. So it's non-functioning.
How many people have been treated there, and how many people's lives are at risk in your view?
Thousands. Thousands and thousands.
Is there any move at all to move those people? I know you said that the other field hospitals don't have the capacity.
The only place that could help now is Al-Aqsa, but the way that the IDF are coming across Gaza means that they have taken the Saladin Road, which is the main road that takes you from Erez in the south of Israel to Rafah in Egypt. And there is no route now from Nasser to Al-Aqsa.
When you say you have seen, obviously you've been working in the hospital, just tell us how long you were there and what are you seeing? What have you been seeing?
This is my 3rd mission to Gaza. We were in August for a month, was the one before this, and then this time we were in for just 3.5 weeks. But it was an incredible increase in bomb and blast injuries. So when a bomb goes off, you get the direct damage of the explosion. And we were seeing a lot of people, particularly young children, with limbs and parts of limbs blown off. The other thing that a blast like that does is the heat will cause a burn. And these are massive burns. We're seeing small children. We had a 3-year-old with a 35% burn, sorts of burns that have a 50% mortality rate in the UK. The other thing that happens is anything that is in the explosion gets whipped up and sent out as a missile at very high speed. And that will hit a civilian and it will penetrate either the head, chest or abdomen, which is normally unsurvivable. But if it penetrates a limb, it may cause a partial amputation or a break in the bone and loss of overlying tissue. And those are the injuries that we were trying to treat.
So injuries as a result of the fighting that's still going on?
Of the bombing,
Of
mainly.
the bombing.
We did have quite a few gunshot wounds after the GHF distribution aid incident on the Sunday morning. We had 28 people brought in dead to the emergency department, and that was both via the local ambulance services, but also people being brought in on donkey carts. And then by lunchtime, we'd estimated that 200 people had come to the hospital who had been shot or injured in some way during the evacuation of that aid distribution site.
Obviously, there are disputed accounts as to what is going on the ground and the cause of those injuries.
I can only tell you, I can only tell you what I saw. I was
Yeah.
in the emergency department. There were at least 200 people. We didn't have any beds left. We were triaging people on the floor. You couldn't get into the main door because of people lying on the floor. I can only tell you what I've seen, and this is what I saw.
Yeah.
And they were gunshot wounds.
And they were telling you what had happened, or were they not in a position to talk about that?
They were telling us what had happened, and they reported that they had been shot. I know that there is a lot of dispute as to who shot them, and I probably don't have the logistics information or education to be able to comment on that, but they had been shot. They perceived that they had been shot by the militarised staff at the GFH distribution centre.
Right. Can I also ask separately about the whole question of the amount of food that people are getting? Were you or your colleagues seeing malnutrition get worse?
Definitely. I mean, the state of the population this time compared to August is undescribable. Everybody is starving. Everybody that I have known in Gaza since I've been going there has lost an incredible amount of weight. Everyone. It is quite shocking when you're seeing old friends that have, lost, 5 stone. It's really, really shocking. But worse, I think, for the children, because they get hit the hardest because of they're developing the quickest. So all the children that we saw were much smaller than their Western counterparts. And it was very difficult to correctly, you wouldn't be able to say that somebody that you thought maybe 5 years old would actually turn out to be 11. It was that kind of contrast. Okay. But we didn't see any fresh fruit or vegetable when we were in there. All the food that we ate, we took with us. I mean, it's a stark contrast from August, when the hospital used to feed the patients and staff, and now they're not feeding the staff at all.
Okay, Dr. Victoria Rose, just back from Nasser Hospital in Khan Younis. Thank you very much indeed.